Let me tell you a story about a man named Dave. Dave spent 32 years of his life working as an engineer at a manufacturing company, saving diligently, investing consistently, and living well below his means. At 62 years old, he finally hit his magic number, securing $1.4 million in retirement accounts, a fully paid-off house, and a reliable pension. He threw the customary retirement party, accepted the gold watch, cleaned out his desk, and walked into the rest of his life with a massive smile on his face. He believed he had finally won the game of capitalism. For the first 2 months, his new reality was amazing as he slept in, played golf, worked on projects around his house, and binge-watched television shows he never had the time to see. But by month 4, he had finished all the house projects. By month 6, the golf was getting incredibly boring. By month 8, he was watching television for 6 hours a day and could not remember the last time he had engaged in a meaningful conversation with anyone other than his wife. By month 12, Dave was prescribed antidepressants, and by month 18, he was officially diagnosed with early-stage dementia. Dave did not die immediately, but something inside of him died the exact day he stopped working. The financial planning industry refuses to talk about this reality. But Dave is not an outlier because he is the statistical norm. A landmark study from the Shell Oil Company tracked their employees and found that those who retired early at age 55 were 89% more likely to die in the 10 years following their retirement than those who retired at age 65. The concept of spending decades in pure leisure is a modern invention that is only about 70 years old, and our human brains are fundamentally not designed for it. Our brains evolved with the strict expectation of purpose, of contribution, and of being deeply needed by a community. When you remove that structure, your brain begins to atrophy just like any other unused muscle. On the complete opposite end of the spectrum is the tragedy of a man named Richard. Richard was the model citizen who listened to all the standard financial advice about saving for a rainy day and letting compound interest do the heavy lifting. He worked as an engineer for 45 years, drove reliable used cars, lived in a modest house, and maxed out his retirement accounts every single year. When his friends backpacked through Europe in their 20s, Richard stayed home to invest his money. When his family begged to upgrade their kitchen in their 40s, Richard refused, insisting they needed to be perfectly safe. At age 65, Richard finally retired with a staggering net worth of $2.5 million. He had won the game on paper, but 2 years into his retirement, Richard suffered a massive stroke. He spent the next 3 years trapped in and out of hospitals, unable to walk, unable to travel, and unable to enjoy any of the things he had patiently waited 45 years to do. He died at age 70, and when the executor of his estate reviewed his accounts, the balance had grown to $2.8 million because the stock market kept rising while he was terminally ill. Society looks at Richard and praises him as a successful man who died a millionaire. But in the brutal laws of economics, Richard failed completely. He wasted 45 years of his life energy accumulating chips that he never cashed in. The Die with Zero philosophy argues that your goal should never be to grow your net worth until the day you die. If you die with $100,000 left over, that is not a safety net, because that is work you performed for absolutely free. Money is not the actual goal. It is merely a stored battery of life energy. You trade your finite, dying hours to acquire money, and if you never spend it, you are simply a slave to the system. We hoard our life energy because we fundamentally misunderstand the biological utility curve of money. Standard financial advice assumes that a single dollar has the exact same value whether you spend it at age 20 or age 80. But that is biologically false. If you give $10,000 to a 25-year-old for a ski trip to the Swiss Alps, they will extract massive utility from it. They will ski the most dangerous slopes, stay in cheap hostels, meet fascinating new people, and stay awake until 4 in the morning. If you give that same $10,000 to a 45-year-old, they will get high utility, but slightly less because their knees might ache and they will undoubtedly worry about the emails piling up at their office. Now imagine giving that exact same $10,000 to an 85-year-old. They likely cannot ski, 5-year-old. They likely cannot ski, and the high altitude might physically harm them. They might spend the entire $10,000 just to sit safely in a warm lodge and drink hot cocoa, meaning the value they extracted from the money has completely plummeted. The cruelty of human biology dictates that your ability to convert money into enjoyment declines rapidly as you get older. In your 20s, you possess health and time, but you have no money. In your 50s, you have money and health, but absolutely no time. In your 80s, you finally have both time and money, but your health is gone. By aggressively hoarding capital for your 80s, you are saving for a version of yourself that cannot even play the game anymore. We rationalize this hoarding sickness by claiming we are doing it to leave a lasting legacy for our children. It is a noble sentiment, but the data proves we are executing it entirely wrong. The average age that a person receives an inheritance in the modern world is 60 years old. If you pass away at age 85, your children are likely in their late 50s or early 60s, and a 60-year-old child does not desperately need your money. Their mortgage is likely paid off, their own children are fully grown, and they are preparing for their own retirement. Receiving a windfall at age 60 has virtually no impact on the trajectory of a person's life. But imagine if you gave them that exact same amount of money when they were 30 years old. At 30, that money is genuinely life-changing. It serves as a down payment on a home in a safe neighborhood, the seed capital to start a small business, or the lifeline to escape crushing student loan debt. You must give your inheritance while you are still alive, with a warm hand rather than a cold hand, so you can experience the selfish joy of watching the incredible impact your money makes. Instead of hoarding, you must invest heavily in memory dividends. We falsely assume that when we spend money on an experience, the money is gone forever. But experiences are actually compounding assets. When you backpack through Europe or take your young children on a magical vacation, that memory pays you a dividend of pure joy every single time you recall it for the rest of your life. If you take that trip at age 25, you collect 60 years of memory dividends, but if you delay it until age 65, you only collect those dividends for 15 years. Delaying your life experiences mathematically destroys their return on investment. You must replace your bucket list with specific time buckets, slotting your desired experiences into the exact age brackets where your health will actually allow you to enjoy them. So why is it so incredibly difficult for us to strike this balance between the fatal retirement of Dave and the tragic hoarding of Richard? We struggle because we live in a corporate ecosystem that spends billions of dollars to manufacture our constant dissatisfaction. Picture a man named Marcus standing in a long line at an Apple store on a Friday morning. Marcus is preparing to spend $1,199 on a brand new smartphone that is only 3% faster than the phone currently sitting in his pocket. His 18-month-old phone works flawlessly, taking excellent photos and running every application he needs. 24 hours prior, he was completely satisfied with his device, but then he watched a carefully orchestrated keynote presentation. The tech industry has realized that their business model cannot survive by selling you a great device just once. They must sell you the same device over and over again by packaging incremental changes as revolutionary leaps. They do not need to make your old device worse. They simply need to make you feel like it is worse. When Marcus watched that presentation, his perfectly functional device was psychologically downgraded by the mere existence of something slightly newer. This is the Upgrade Illusion, a psychological extraction machine that costs the average household tens of thousands of dollars over a lifetime. The average American replaces their smartphone every 2.8 years, despite the hardware being capable of lasting 5 to 7 years. If you participate in this cycle with phones, laptops, and tablets over a 40-year working life, you will spend roughly $68,000 on personal electronics. If you instead purchased refurbished devices and kept them longer and invested the difference in an index fund, that money would compound to over $214,000. You are not paying for better technology. You are paying a massive premium for the psychological comfort of not feeling left behind. Every unnecessary upgrade is a voluntary tax you pay to alleviate the manufactured dissatisfaction planted in your brain by a marketing department. This psychological manipulation extends far beyond high-priced electronics. It drains your wealth in tiny increments every single day through the architecture of choice. Imagine walking into a movie theater. You are trying to be financially responsible, so you decide you only want the small popcorn, which is priced at $6. You glance at the large popcorn, which resembles a massive trash can, and see it is priced at $8. But right in the middle of the menu board is a medium popcorn for $7.50. Your brain instantly runs a calculation and determines that the large popcorn is only 50 cents more than the medium, making the large an incredible bargain. You buy the large, feeling like a savvy consumer who just hacked the system. But the truth is, you got played. You walked into the theater intending to spend $6, and you walked out spending $8, increasing your budget by 33%. The medium popcorn is not an actual product. It is a psychological weapon known as the decoy effect. Humans are comparative creatures who are terrible at judging the absolute value of an item in a vacuum. We function like Geiger counters, only able to measure things in relation to the items sitting directly next to them. The movie theater has absolutely no intention of selling you the medium popcorn. The medium option exists exclusively to make the expensive option look like a victorious deal. This asymmetric dominance is used by Apple to push you from the basic storage model to the expensive Pro model by placing an awkwardly priced middle tier in between them. Real estate agents use it by showing you a terrible house priced at $500,000, just so the slightly better house at $525,000 looks like an absolute steal. You constantly upsell yourself because you fear missing out on relative value, completely ignoring the absolute dollars draining from your bank account. When we combine this manufactured desire with large purchases, we trigger the most destructive psychological chain reaction in all of personal finance. We must return to the year 1765 and visit the French philosopher Denis Diderot. Diderot was famous but entirely broke, living a humble life with old clothes and a rickety wooden chair. Catherine the Great took pity on his financial struggles and purchased his library for a massive sum of money. Suddenly wealthy, Diderot purchased a magnificent scarlet dressing gown fit for a king. He felt incredibly elegant wearing it, but when he sat down to write, he noticed that his old, scratched desk violently clashed with the beauty of the new robe. The contrast was unbearable, so he replaced the desk with a beautiful mahogany table. Once the new table was installed, his old, threadbare rug looked like an absolute rag, so he replaced it with an expensive Damascus rug. The rug then made the curtains look cheap, which made the chairs look like firewood. He systematically replaced every single object he owned until the entire environment matched the high-status quality of the scarlet robe, and at the end of the process, he was completely broke again. He famously wrote that he was the absolute master of his old dressing gown, but he had become a helpless slave to his new one. This is the Diderot effect, and modern marketing triggers it with weaponized precision. You decide to get in shape and purchase a $1,500 exercise bike. When it arrives, you realize your old cotton gym shorts do not match the sleek aesthetic of the equipment. You buy expensive cycling shoes, moisture-wicking compression shorts, and a new smart television for the room. You did not just buy a piece of exercise equipment. You purchased an entirely new identity. If you renovate your kitchen for $10,000, the beautiful new cabinets will instantly make your 10-year-old refrigerator look disgusting. You replace the fridge, which makes the vinyl floor look dated, forcing you to install hardwood. The kitchen renovation eventually leaks into the living room, turning a $10,000 project into a $35,000 financial disaster. The anchor item resets the baseline for your entire life, and every item that falls below that baseline creates intense psychological tension. You are not spending money because you want to. You are spending money to maintain coherence in your newly upgraded lifestyle story. The only way to survive this gauntlet of psychological manipulation is to completely redefine the ultimate finish line of your life. Most people are blindly running toward a traditional retirement, hoping to accumulate enough capital to simply stop working. But as we saw with Dave, stopping is a death sentence. Work provides 5 critical psychological pillars that keep human beings alive and healthy, which are structure, identity, social connection, purpose, and cognitive challenge. When you remove those pillars without deliberately replacing them, an existential vacuum opens up inside of you. Your true goal is not retirement. Your goal is a mathematical inevitability known as the crossover point. The crossover point is the exact moment when the passive income generated by your investments crosses above your monthly living expenses. When your money makes more in a single day than your employer pays you for an 8-hour shift, your labor becomes completely optional. But financial independence is not about the freedom from work. It is about the freedom to work. It is the power to reach a point where you never have to work for money again, which allows you to work on whatever you find deeply meaningful. The people who thrive in their later years possess what the Okinawan people of Japan call ikigai, a deep and enduring reason for getting up in the morning. They never stop contributing to their community, they never stop learning, and they never stop facing challenges. Every purchase you make has a hidden cost, sacrificing future months and years of your freedom. When you upgrade your lifestyle to buy the decoy popcorn, the marginally faster smartphone, or the anchor item that forces you to redesign your entire house, you are trading your finite life energy for objects that depreciate the moment you touch them. You are pushing your crossover point further into the future, extending your sentence in the corporate machine. You must become the absolute master of your own life by opting out of the engineered dissatisfaction that enriches corporations. Do not hoard your wealth until you are too frail to enjoy it, and do not grind yourself into the ground for a purposeless retirement that will ultimately destroy your mind. Invest aggressively to buy back your time, spend lavishly on memory dividends while you still have your health, and give your money to the people you love when it can actually change their lives. The ultimate status symbol is not a scarlet robe or a titanium phone. It is the absolute freedom to wake up on a random Tuesday and choose exactly how you want to contribute to the world. Build a life of such deep purpose and